One of the worst things that can happen is that you become a bitter person. Yes, it's letting the bitterness of life, of your soul, of your spirit, take over your being. And only those who have lived with a bitter person know what it is. Only they know what it is. A bitter person curses themselves. They become their worst enemy. For them, everything is as if it was a curse, as if they were cursed, as if God Himself was against them. And we see in the Bible the story of a woman who experienced this. Her name was Naomi. By the way, the name Naomi means pleasant or sweet, something pleasant, sweet. But Naomi became bitter, from sweetness to bitterness. Why? Let's understand. You'll find her story in the book of Ruth, a beautiful book that shows the story of this woman of faith, Ruth, but it's not about Ruth that we'll talk about today. Naomi was Ruth's mother-in-law. Naomi was an Israelite woman who left Israel's land fleeing famine with her husband and 2 children, and they settled in the land of Moab. Time passed, and Naomi's husband died. Later, one son and another son after. Naomi lost the 3 men of her life, and she was left with her 2 daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah. Then Naomi said goodbye to her daughters-in-law because they were Moabites, but Ruth decided to return with her to Israel. And when they arrived in Israel, everyone knew her story. Their story moved the entire city of Bethlehem. And everyone said, Naomi was the one who lost the husband and the 2 sons. That loss became the description of Naomi. Do you know those people who start to be described by the tragedy that they went through? That one is the one with cancer. That one is the one who the wife betrayed. The other one is the one who lost everything, who attempted suicide. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because of a tragedy, the person is mentioned because of the tragedy that happened to them. But Naomi didn't help herself, because the text says that Naomi used to say this to people: do not call me Naomi, call me Mara. For the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. That is, she blamed God for what had happened to her. I went out full, referring when she left Israel, married and with 2 children. I went out full, and the Lord has brought me home again empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has afflicted me? Look at this. From a sweet woman and pleasant, she changed her name to Mara, which means in Hebrew, bitter, bitterness. I want you to call me bitter. I am a bitter person because God turned against me. And so Naomi carried the bitterness for a long time in her life. She did not understand God's purpose, because later on, if you read the book of Ruth, it's a short one, 4 chapters only. If you see at the end of the book, that everything has a purpose, and God caused Naomi to have a grandson who became King David's grandfather. In other words, if she had not returned to Israel, if she had not returned and all that had not happened, that story, that lineage, messianic lineage, which is what happened, her descendants, even though it was through Ruth, her descendants would not have been included in the genealogy of the Lord Jesus. Everything had a purpose. But some people, because they don't have the faith to see the distance, how far things are, and to trust in God, they cannot remain confident between their loss and the purpose that will be fulfilled. They cannot keep the faith in this hiatus. They only have faith to win. Many only have faith to win. Faith to receive financial blessings, get married, have children, build a house, go to college, to open their company, to make money. For this, they have faith, but they don't have faith to lose. If they start to lose something, they soon become bitter. They go from Naomi to Mara very quickly. They become bitter people, hard to deal with, and they vomit this bitterness, this anguish in their words for everyone who is around. Which is the worst of all. The person becomes a well of bitterness and they start to vomit their bitterness to everyone around them. My life is like this, God did this to me. When I left, I had all, but when I came back, I had nothing. Where is God? What was my sin? I say my prayers and vows. I give my offerings and tithes. God doesn't listen to me. Have you ever stopped to think, you who are like this, have you ever stopped to think just a little that maybe God's silence has a lot to do with your chit-chat? Have you ever stopped to think like this? That God's silence has a lot to do with the nonsense that you speak, that you pour upon people around you, that you tell others, pouring, passing as if it's not enough. You to be filled with bitterness, you keep on passing this bitterness to others. Maybe if you closed your mouth and stopped speaking nonsense with your own mouth, cursing yourself, cursing your own life, complaining about God. Maybe if you closed your mouth and looked within you, maybe if you cannot close your mouth, at least talk to God, speak to God. My God, I can't understand. Help me to believe, to understand, to trust and to remain until your purpose for this is fulfilled in me. Maybe if you do this, you wouldn't be so bitter as you have been. Maybe. Let's learn from the story of Naomi. Let's learn. Sometimes people lose their entire lives because they don't trust God's sovereign, perfect, good will. They don't trust. They think that God is making a mistake somehow. For them to make a mistake, impossible. They can never be wrong. Who is wrong is God. He is wrong because their lives is the way it is, because God made a mistake somehow. Dear friends, ask God that you may have faith not only to win, but also to lose. The Lord Jesus said, "For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. So you must have faith to lose, to not have the successes that you would like to have, that you imagine that you would conquer. But even though you don't have the success, some way, somehow, you don't understand now, but what God has prepared for you is greater and better, as it was in the case of Naomi. What God did in the life of Naomi, in her daughter-in-law's life, was way better than if they had remained in Moab. But she didn't see like this. She didn't believe in this. She didn't understand this. But if you learn this lesson, you will no longer be Mara. You will no longer be bitter. You will regain your sweetness, which is a characteristic of the one who trusts in God no matter what. They might be going through a personal hell, but on the outside, they keep their sweetness because their faith that they have in God, faith to lose and to trust, does not allow them neither to be bitter nor to pour bitterness through their mouths. If today's video helped you and you know someone that could benefit from it, share it with them, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you may do so now. See you later.